White House correspondent Karen Travers for more on the big issues ahead of Election Day. Karen, you talk with radio hosts across America every day about these issues, but you say no one's asking about political violence or threats at the ballot box. Republicans are criticizing the president, saying he's focused on the wrong thing here, that this isn't what Americans care about right now. Are they right?
You know, Diane, there's far less interest when the president gives a speech like the one he gave last night on threats to American democracy than when he talks about, say, gas prices or the economy or inflation. The speech last night didn't seem to cut through when you look at the questions I was getting asked today. A lot of why was the president talking about this? Didn't we hear him give this speech in Philadelphia a couple weeks ago? And what was new there from the president? Why was he doing this just days out from the midterm elections? You know, a lot of people are asking, when you look at those polls and people say it's the economy, inflation, gas prices, is the president missing that when he's giving a speech like last night? But as you heard Cecilia say there in her report, you know, the president says, yes, those issues are important, but this is something he wanted to talk about last night because he also thinks this is something that he needs to underline. This is something Americans need to be paying attention to.
Now, our latest ABC News and Ipsos poll shows, as you say, the economy and inflation are the most important issues to voters. So what are you hearing from stations on that front?
Yeah, that's the big thing that people want to talk about. They want to know what the White House is doing on those big things. And you know, I think there's also a recognition that some of it is baked in right now, and there's not much the White House can do at this point, especially with just days until the midterm elections, in terms of how it will impact their vote. Diane, I was outside Philadelphia last week reporting on the campaign trail, talking to voters for a full day, and it was really striking to hear Republicans say their vote is going to be based on the economy and inflation and gas prices, and Democrats saying their vote was going to be based on the economy and inflation and gas prices. But they were so entrenched in what their decisions were going to be, no wiggle room there. Democrats were saying they didn't think it was all President Biden's fault, that there was still a lot of lag from COVID and the shutdowns, and Republicans saying they didn't think that the White House was doing enough to address their concerns, and it was time for a change in Washington.
Now, abortion is the next most important issue in our poll, and it's been a main focus for Democrats. Do you get a lot of questions about that topic?
I do when the president talks about it, but Diane, you know, he's really not done it in a big way. He gave a speech in Washington a couple weeks ago, and we had a lot of questions about that to the White House. Why was he doing it here in Washington? Why talk about abortion at a political event here in the nation's capital and not on the campaign trail, not with candidates in battleground states, not in a state like Michigan, where abortion is actually on the ballot? The White House defended the decision to do it here, saying he talks about it in all of his campaign events. But it was notable that if you're going to shine a spotlight on an issue like that, he didn't really shine a big spotlight. So abortion comes up when the president talks about it in a big way. But again, the economy is still the #1 thing. And when the president talks about the economy, that's always the thing that gets the biggest attention.
Now, President Biden is set to give remarks on student debt relief today before hitting the campaign trail again. What can we expect there?
Yeah, he's going to talk about efforts that New Mexico is making. That's where he's campaigning today to try and give free education, free college education to people in that state. He's also going to talk about his own efforts to relieve student debt. Now, of course, you know, you and I have talked about this. It's held up in court right now. The president trying to relieve up to $10,000 in federal student loans for some Americans, up to $20,000 for other Americans. But they can't send that payment out. They can't send that relief out right now as it's making its way through the court system. It's a big blow to the White House because they really wanted to get some of that money out before the midterm elections to be able to say, hey, we're delivering for you as people start heading to the polls.
All right, Karen Travers, great to have you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.